So the reopening of the American economy could be a new turning point for the United States. And to bring you more details on this news story that WION has been tracking, I'm joined in by our correspondent Jagrati Dave, who joins us live from Washington, D.C. Jagrati, thank you so much for bringing in your precious contribution to this newscast. Let me begin by saying that this decision by the president, of course, involves inevitable risk. Do throw light on the federal guidelines issued by President Trump and tell us which are the regions that could open sooner, and what about areas which are most affected by the outbreak like New York, Detroit, New Orleans or even Chicago?
Well, let's go through the guidelines first of all. As you were playing the clip from the president, he's saying three phases. But even before states can embark on these three phases, they have to fulfill certain criteria. For example, they have to demonstrate a decrease in the number of cases over a period of 2 weeks before they can even start thinking about phase one. So if you look at phase one, some of the measures there include the reopening of some larger venues like some restaurants, movie theatres, but they have to adhere to strict physical distancing guidelines. Schools could only be reopened in phase two. The most vulnerable people in society are advised to stay hunkered down until the phase three part. And so as you go through the phases, gradually there's more reopening, there's more loosening of restrictions. You know, phase one, there's a limitation of no more than 10 people gathering. Phase two, that's broadened to 50 people at a gathering. So, but before a state can progress from the one phase to the next, they have to, again, demonstrate that they are seeing a decline in cases over 2 weeks. So they have to stick to a phase for 2 weeks, show declining cases, show that the hospitals aren't in crisis, that they can maintain hospital levels at pre-crisis levels before they move on. So these are sort of the guidelines that the president has issued. Now, he did say to the governors, and it's been reported at the call that he had with US state governors, it's being reported that he said to them that you will be calling your own shots, which is a marked difference from what he'd said previously in these briefings, where he said the president calls the shots. So some of the areas you were asking about, you know, New York clearly is one of the hot spots, the epicenter of the outbreak. The governor there has extended social distancing guidelines until May the 15th. He's just announced mandatory wearing of masks on places like public transport where you can't maintain physical distancing of that 6 feet from another person. So clearly those are the areas, New Jersey, those hotspots are those areas where the state governors are going to take their time, and they're not going to be one of the states that, as the president suggested, that can just open tomorrow.
Right. Jagrati, Dr. Anthony Fauci has referred to multiple checkpoints of safety in these phases for the reopening of U.S. economy. Could you reiterate on these checkpoints? What did he mean by them?
Yeah, so the checkpoints, these are those criteria, those hurdles that I was just talking about. So demonstrating the decline in cases for 2 weeks, maintaining hospitals at pre-crisis levels. Those are the sorts of things that they have to demonstrate. And if they show that, if the state, for example, reopens their businesses, gets people back into work, and they see a spike, well, they're going to have to row back and they're going to have to tighten the measures again. So in fact, Dr. Fauci was saying inevitably there's some instances there's going to be some sort of pullback, some return to stricter measures and a reopening. So it's a fluid situation. It's not just going to be a strict move from phase 1 to 2 to 3. It's at the discretion of the governors. They have to monitor what's happening in their states before they can carry on, or if they have to pull back.
Absolutely. The situation in the United States continues to remain fragile, of course, because we're learning that, you know, the death toll has already crossed 34,000. But it's important to talk about how the availability of coronavirus tests remains a key issue. Without being able to screen employees and customers for the virus, can Americans actually return to work or even retail establishments?
Well, that is an excellent question, and one that business leaders have been asking, and health experts are also concerned about. So yesterday, the president spoke to business leaders from a vast variety of industries, banking, retail, technology, transportation. And again, according to reports of that call, industry leaders were expressing concerns about getting people back to work without ramping up testing. They want employees to be able to be safely returned to work. And the only way to know that is through widespread testing. And the president has time and time again said that the United States has excellent tests, has the best tests, but has not committed to increasing widespread testing. Indeed, again today, whilst he was throwing the ball in the governor's courts on when they reopen, he was once again throwing that ball of testing back in the governor's court, saying, well, it's up to states and up to state governors to do the testing, which is contrary to what some governors, like the governor of New York, has been saying, that there isn't enough widespread testing and they need help from the federal government to get those tests in place. So there is a definite tension there. And health experts are also concerned about getting employees back in the workforce. But if we're unable to do widespread testing, that is going to be a problem.
Right. It's interesting to see how Donald Trump has very cleverly now placed the onus on to the governors. But last but not the least, Jagriti, is America, in fact, the entire world now looking at a new normal as the United States is all set to reopen the economy? Even Dr. Deborah Birx pointed that no matter what phase you are in, you won't be able to go back to life that was prior to the pandemic.
Yes, that phrase, the new normal, is being expressed by many different people. It's used by the New York governor when he talks about face masks. And it's in reporting, and as you say, by Dr. Deborah Birx, this idea that the new normal now could be increasing wearing of face masks. It is likely to be continued social distancing. Again, when you look at the phases, maintaining social distancing continues throughout, even to phase 3. And it's interesting that obviously the phase 4 will be what happens when there's a vaccine, which again, we don't really know about. The vaccine is still a good 18 months away, potentially. And really, Dr. Fauci has said time and time again that it's mitigation until, and really the end solution is when there is a vaccine. That is when things will go back to normal. But before then, yes, it likely is that there is going to be this new normal.
Right. So nothing happens till the vaccine's out. So this is the new normal, as you just pointed out, till the vaccine's out. Thank you so much, Jagriti, for bringing us all those details on this newscast.